Okay, welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting of the City of Wausau. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd. It is 5:30, and with a quorum present, we will call this meeting to order. So first on the agenda is public comment. Is anyone here for public comment? Okay, we've got 3 minutes per member, so if you want to come and state your name.
You bet.
Address.
My name is Joe Mella. My business address is 500 North First Street here in Wausau. I work with Rooter Ware. The reason I'm here tonight is a bit of a convoluted story, so I'm going to take a couple seconds just to explain what's going on. I represent a company called Kimcar LLC, which is a business that owns various real estate in the city of Wausau. Kimcar has an interest in acquiring a piece of property that is currently owned by a different party located in the Wausau West Business Campus. As part of the review of the title to that real estate, we came across the set of restrictive covenants that are imposed on that property. Now, as a bit of background, as the city has developed the Wausau West Business Campus, and this has been going on for 30, 40 years, the city did not impose a standardized set of restrictions on the development of the property. What instead has been happening is, as the city sells off each individual lot to an individual property owner, they impose a set of restrictions in the deed that goes along with that conveyance. Now, the problem has been that over time, almost every single one of these deeds has a slightly different set of restrictions in it. And as a result, that's created a fair amount of confusion and misunderstandings. It makes all of these parcels of property less valuable because nothing is necessarily consistent from parcel to parcel because the different things have been conveyed at different times. I'm not here to advocate for or against anything that's been going on in the business campus itself. I'm here actually specifically because one of the provisions in the set of restrictive covenants in the piece of property my client is interested in, my client is objected to. And the current owner of the property has reached out to the city attorney's office and asked about what we can do. And it's item number 4 on your agenda, so that's why I'm here to give you the background on it now. Specifically, what we are asking for is for the city to I'm going to use the word waive, essentially give up one of the specific restrictions that's contained in that deed that impacts that particular piece of property. To paraphrase, the restriction essentially allows the city to change any of the rules that apply to the property whenever the city wants. That, as you can probably guess, substantially affects marketability. If you tell somebody I'm going to sell you a piece of property and it turns out that the city could change all the rules that apply to that piece of property whenever they want to. We've objected to that. We've told the seller that our client's not willing to buy the property if that provision exists. So I think that the owner of the property is going to petition the city to remove that specific provision. What I would point out is something that is of interest in your board packet that you have tonight. There is a sample included of the current set of restrictive covenants that the Economic Development Director has been proposing be used when you sell pieces of property to individual property owners within the Wausau West Business Campus. And I would point out that the provision that we're objecting to, that it's in this older set, is not even included in the new set that the city is requiring. So we're objecting to something that you don't even consider to be important enough to include in your current set of restrictions. So again, ask that would be removed. There is actually a new provision that you have added to this set of restrictions that's in your board packet, and I actually think in the form that I have it's highlighted that there's 2 sentences to it. And one of the sentences says that the city council can decide not to enforce whatever the restrictive covenants are, if they so decide. And we don't object to that being as part, if that was something you wanted to say, well, we'll drop the old one, we'll put this new provision in here, we have no problem with that. The second sentence, however, says something to the effect of, if the city wants, we can force you to give us an easement for public purposes. That is, in all likelihood, an unconstitutional taking and probably would not be enforceable. I'm not sure if you've used it under these circumstances yet. it's probably not something you'd want to put into your restrictive covenants. And if that was something you were going to insist would be included in this, we'd be objecting to that too. But in any event, that's why I came up here tonight, to just sort of give you some background as to what we're here for and what we're asking for. So I'd be happy to answer any questions to the extent I know anything. But I don't know much else about this particular property. We've worked through some of these restrictive covenants in the past. You probably have been involved with them in the past because one of the other things the city has continued to ask for when they sell land to developers in the Wausau West Business Campus is a right to buy the property back under certain circumstances. That's not a situation that we have here that we're dealing with at this point in time. But in any event, so you've probably heard about some of these things before. The thing that we're specifically objecting to, however, has to do with the city's ability to change the rules without anybody having a say in it. So in any event,
Thank
that's
you.
what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I just, hold on. Okay. Accidentally. Okay, anyone else? For public comment? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Carrie Marole. I live at 1025 Everest Boulevard in Wausau. I just wanted to come here because, well, for a couple of reasons. I'm a realtor, but I'm also a community member, and I've also been, for the last few years, on the CIP committee. Just seeing how things are done and how the city gets bids and goes through processes. And I have some concerns with what's going on with the new infused company that's happening. I think it's just not a good look for the city of Wausau. I mean, we have an actual community member that is putting their own funds to make this a great community. They're not asking for city money. They're not doing anything. They're asking for an extension, because we all know, and being a part of the CIP committee, that just because you have plans doesn't mean they're always on time. They might be a little bit delayed. And I guess I have some concerns with why this is even happening, because I feel like as a community, we should be thankful for members of our community that really want to make a green space, an area that may attract businesses and just be a positive. So I wanted to just come in here and say, I'm concerned that this is bad optics for the city of Wausau to take something that could be a great situation and, make it into a negative situation. I read Wausau Pilot Review today, and frankly, I was floored. It seems silly. So, I don't know. Any questions?
We can't.
Well, you can't ask.
For,
Okay.
no, not for public comment.
Okay,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's where I sit. I think it's a great thing for the city, and I would hope that something as small as a 3-month extension would not take away from really the grand overall picture, which would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other public comments? Okay.
Hi, my name is Justin Carstensen. I'm at 919 Humboldt Avenue. I'd also like to just add to her comments speaking on infused. I know it's in a neighborhood that the city has been targeting for redevelopment, and so I feel that this is a great opportunity for the city, for a private citizen to put forward their own money in order to better the neighborhood and try and attract more to that area. Overall, it's just a great opportunity for the city. I think it's a win-win for everybody if it is allowed to move forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you all. Then no other public comments. We will move on, excuse me, to agenda item number 2, approval of minutes from the August 7th, 2024 meeting. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Alder Hinkie. I'm move to approve. I'm looking for a second. Okay, Alder Killian, thank you. Any questions at all? And if not, everyone in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Any against? Okay, thank you. The minutes are approved. Number 3 on the agenda is a presentation by Angel Laidlaw from Centergy. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I was going to say, someone going to control the PowerPoint for me?
I will do my best.
I'll tell you slide.
Okay.
And I have 10 minutes, so I'm setting a timer. Well, as she's getting that up, I can start. So good evening, everyone. My name's Angel Laidlaw. I serve currently as the president and CEO for Centergy, which is the regional economic development entity serving the 5 counties in central Wisconsin. So that's Lincoln, Marathon, Portage, Wood, and Adams counties. You can hit like 2 slides.
All right.
Perfect. So essentially what our organization does is we help with big picture issues that are impacting our region. So housing, childcare, broadband, talent attraction and retention, and any other barriers to real development in our region. I'm just going to cover a few different programs that we facilitate in partnership not only with the City of Wausau, with community development, but other partners such as chambers of commerce, visitor centers, and then also private sector businesses. So the first one I'll cover is our Central to Success program. So we are currently deep into Central to Success, which is a marketing, talent attraction, and retention program. Slide, please. What we do is we're focusing on attracting individuals into central Wisconsin from not only outside the state, but also in those prime areas where individuals are looking to relocate in Wisconsin. So think Madison's, Milwaukee, some of those bigger areas. But we know attraction isn't just about saying we have a great place, even though we know central Wisconsin is the best. So we have to focus on the things that we're really great at, such as the careers, our education, family resources, cost of living, community, and anything that's really quality of life. Next slide. We're focusing on attracting individuals that are high demand. So it's professional services, including dentists, doctors, high-tech jobs, veterans, because they are the most equipped to come to central Wisconsin because of our great recreation. But we're also looking at boomerangs, which are referred to alumni from the UW systems and our technical colleges. Slides. So what is a marketing campaign when you're talking Central to Success? So at Centergy, we spent the last year developing a website called Central to Your Success. So essentially, think of it like this. No matter if you're starting a business, starting your career, or starting your family, here in the center, we have what you have for that success. So centraltosuccess.com is actually a live website that's a free resource for everyone to use. So you could put this on job postings, you could put this essentially on your website as a private business, and it really showcases all the great things about central Wisconsin. So we have tabs that feature specifically counties, that feature certain, those PowerPoints I call them. I apologize, this thing keeps kind of breaking in and out. So if you hit the next slide, we focus on the why. You might notice that as an event here in Wausau. We focus on this why and the stories within the why. People want to come here because they feel welcome. People want to come here because it's a different quality of education, safe communities. And we share those stories. Next slide. We talk about people who run companies. We talk about people who relocate from Atlanta to attend NTC because they love the programs there. So we talk about small business, big business. We talk about our communities. And moreover, we talk about the people because we know that's our greatest resource. Next slide. This is an example of how we feature one of the counties, but don't get me wrong, I do not want to have the answers for everything because that would be a lot to wear. So we actually partner and we link to all of our partners. So I mentioned the chambers, the visitor centers, maybe nonprofit organizations that can help people with homes, or those who are immigrating to our communities from other countries. We link all of that on here because we want to refer back to the experts, and Centergy is the expert at connecting to all of our partners. So we use that as our tool for the resources on the website. Next slide. But we don't just stop there. We talk about housing, we talk about the affordability here, and then we feature, again, those PowerPoint things that could be maybe an aquatic center. Up this way, we talk a lot about Granite Peak and Rim Mountain, those recreation opportunities here. Slide. But of course, in any good site, we also have to include things like site selectors, available properties that are available in our region. We've been working closely with Randy and his team on how to promote the available commercial properties in our region and what incentives are offered at the state level and locally that we can feature on the website. So this is a talent attraction website, but also a development website. And we also have resources for entrepreneurs on here as well. So I just say, when you have a time, go through, click through, it's a quick resource, but really we're just really trying to promote our region. And then the website was just phase 1, so that launched in December. Now we're doing paid advertising for the next 12 months that'll go out of state. So that will be display click ads, that will be direct campaigns to certain areas if there's an announce of a closure business, that we can attract those candidates as well. And then next week I'll be traveling to Colorado to 3 veteran attraction events in 3 days, and we'll be trying to get those who are transitioning out of the military in the next 18 months to build a connection with Wisconsin and another veteran in our region, so they're more likely to move to central Wisconsin. Slide. This is just a quick peek at what the development looks like when you list commercial properties. So you can see there that it highlights the Synergy region, and then the available properties, and then also if there's certified sites in that area as well. The one thing I forgot to mention, we also feature jobs on here. We link to the Job Center of Wisconsin, and we only show central Wisconsin zip codes in that. So go ahead, slide. And quickly, I'll cover some of the other programs that we're known for. We are a 501c4 entity, so that means we can lobby on behalf of our region. We host the only regional advocacy day that's hosted by a regional economic entity, and ours is called Central Wisconsin Days. We head to the Capitol and we get into small groups and we advocate for things that are impacting our region. So the issues that are brought forth are from private and public sector individuals. We have lots of sessions with our legislator and we say, what are the things that we can help fix today and what can we help develop to fix later? This last year we had over 88 attendees and we had 4 pieces of legislation that went through. That included the business tax credit modification with WEDC, and then that also includes support for the removal of the personal property tax. So you can hit slide a couple times to get through all those great photos. That's our big group. And that event is open to the public, and we encourage everyone to attend, whether you're new to advocacy or whether you're senior at advocacy, but really it's about sharing the stories about central Wisconsin and how their legislation is impacting us. One of my favorite events, which was just hosted here in Wausau, is Experience Central Wisconsin, which is a developer tour. So what we do is we bring developers from outside the region and the state into specific areas and we showcase those communities. Slide. We started in Stevens Point, touring the local downtown area, and then we went over the commercial properties that are available for development. You can hit slide probably twice. There we go. And then we kicked off day 2 here in Wausau. We had some great tours, and the developers went through all of the available properties. They got to learn a little bit about them. And then if they were interested, at the end of the event, we surveyed the developers and asked if they wanted to be contacted to have a direct connection with one of the properties. And we did have interest from 2 developers that did submit that they were interested at that time. Again, that does not guarantee that they're going to get anything. They still have to go through the bid process, but we want to make sure that we're providing a good event where they can showcase properties in our region. Slide. There's another great one. Randy, that looks like you, doesn't it? Slide. And then lastly, just quickly, our marketing efforts are never ending. We're part of the state ambassador program where we get direct candidates funneled to us. Imagine like filling out a dating online profile. That's what I got to do. And then they match us with individuals who are interested in moving to Wisconsin. So I'm an outdoor rec enthusiast, so I get a lot of fishing, UTVing, snowmobiling. No, I will not share my fishing spots with you. But we do connect them to companies in our region, and the goal is to get them relocated here. Through this program, I've helped personally relocate 4 individuals. 2 of them are here in Wausau, and that's just part of that program. Slide. They also feature a section on central Wisconsin, so that way we can have a little bit information and they can choose which region they want to move to. Slide. I mentioned that Colorado trip next week. That's in part, Synergy invests $5,000 annually into Mission Wisconsin, which is a nonprofit organization that travels all around the world to attract veterans specifically to Wisconsin. We invest in their organization. That way, when I cannot be there in person, because I don't think my board will send me to Italy, what we do is they act on our behalf and they take content material and they promote us, and then they funnel direct candidates to us as well. So far this year, they've funneled 60 candidates to central Wisconsin. So we think it's well worth the investment. And slide. But there's more. I can't go over all those things because my time is up, but we do anything and anything, especially with our partners, as long as it's something that's impacting our region. So that's having RFI processes, advocacy, working with career pathways and our CISA education partners to our post-secondary partners. And slide. And last year, this is what we completed in 2023 as a new not a new organization, but I would say reworked organization. And it's been a great fun. And all these slides will be available to you guys after the fact as well. Slide. Just 2 quick save the dates. We have an economic development organization and municipality meeting where we have best practices on economic development. It will be hosted in Plover on November 20th. We keep this to real community specific because we want to get people out to our small communities. Slide. And then we will be hosting a Workforce Solutions Summit as well. And that will be in partnership with all of the Chamber of Commerce. We have 7 in our region. And we'll be talking workforce, technology, and infrastructure as well. And that concludes. You can hit slide on my next one. And I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee. I'm sorry that was really fast and I talk fast.
Any questions, committee members? Alder Hanke.
Thanks. I'd just like to say thanks for coming in. I didn't know you existed until I saw the packet, so it's great to meet you and see all the work you guys do.
Thank you.
I agree. All the connections are great too. So thank you. Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action on revised set of deed restrictions for 8220 Enterprise Drive. Mr. Leifrick.
Sure. So just one thing. This is something the committee had reviewed this request at your meeting last month in August. After the meeting, the city attorney's office was contacted with a request for additional change of language. As noted in the deed restrictions, there were some comments during public comment on that. So what I did was place in your packet the specific language that was being talked about highlighted. You have the option of revising the language as requested or changing it as you see suited. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Alder Kisselman? Did you?
So we're looking at number 10 then, is that correct, the highlighted?
Yep, so number 10 is what you see in the revised set that we had sent the, I don't remember if it was the owner or their agent. Those are the deed restrictions, the amended deed restrictions that we had proposed, that we brought forward through the committee last month. Like I said, after the meeting, there was a request for us to review that again and potentially change that. You heard some of the comment during public comment about their request for that to be changed. One of the things that we have softened this language based on what they have within their current deed restrictions, just based on the easement language in there, it would allow us to obtain an easement simply since some changes with eminent domain for trails and things like this. We do run into significant issues if we have an unwilling property owner, we're wishing to extend a trail through that area. That was one of the purposes of keeping this in. But as stated earlier, it does obviously encumber the property and the worth of it for the property owner.
Well, that second sentence does seem high-handed. What would, in one instance, what would the city need it for public purposes without the cost to the city? Is that how we do things right now?
I have no experience with working through, so Ann Jacobson from the Attorney's Office is here if you do have questions specifically on that. But specifically, so I've seen instances where we're working on extending a trail or separated bike path. If we have a property owner that doesn't wish to work with us on that, they can hold that entire process up. And with the changes with eminent domain law, there's no amount of money, there's nothing that we can ever do to force that through. So keeping this in there would allow that provision, but obviously you're going to be potentially affecting the sale of the property.
Can we get Ann's opinion? I have serious questions with her, but I don't know how that works in real life.
Well, Randy is correct. They're attempting to put a bike trail throughout the business campus, and a recent case has made it clear that a city does have the powers of condemnation to condemn for sidewalk purposes, but the statute uses the word pedestrian ways, and not included in that definition are trails. So we still cannot condemn for trail purposes. You can't take people's private land to build trails. I would believe this might be challenged in court. Like you said, it sounds very high-handed. We can't condemn for an easement for trail purposes. This says public purposes, but hearing Randy having described why they're doing that, I thought that recently we had been negotiating for easements, or we started out doing that to pay for those in the business campus for purposes of expanding the trail. And I would think out of fairness, if not through a court order, we would pay for those easements if it's for trail purposes.
Well, but then it
At a
goes on to
minimum.
say without cost to the city.
Right.
So there's, I think that sentence basically says that unilaterally we can do this without any, I would hope that the city would negotiate, after all, that property is the property owner's property. And I would think that we would want to work with the property owner on that. I'm sure the trail that was developed out on 72nd Avenue, I would hope that was all, I don't know how that came about, but it came about very
I
well.
believe those were all negotiated easements with the various property owners at various prices, and I don't know, I wasn't handling those. There may have been one holdout. I don't know. There were parts of the trail that weren't going in. But this doesn't seem fair. It does sound a little onerous and high-handed, actually, because it does say for public purposes. That could be any size easement. It could be any chunk of their land. If you look at it from the owner's side, yes, it's our business campus, but they're buying this property for public or for private purposes for their business and making improvements to it without having any idea what that might mean or how much land the city may take in the future of their private land for public purposes. So,
Because even in the city, the trails under development, the Colby, the southwest side, that was all negotiated. Even on the west side, we're continuing those negotiations with with property owners on the west side, I think this is, I don't know about the first sentence, but the city may unilaterally in the future by resolution require grantees to grant the city any easement intended for public what does that mean without cost to the city? I have questions with that sentence.
Thank you.
Those are for Randy, I think. Do you have another question of me?
I do, and would this, if this were accepted, would that set a precedent that the city could do that to anybody's private property, or does that not set a precedent?
I don't know what staff member would recommend that elsewhere. I mean, we don't force anything on anybody. If they say, no, we're not going to give you an easement, then we have to either get an appraisal or negotiate, for that easement. I'm just trying to think of the types of easements we get. They're small, that are encroaching for building like walls, retaining walls, or things like that from private entities. I know over the years they've attempted to get those for nothing, but if the person wants to be paid, we get appraisals for those and negotiate a payment for those easements. And again, you can only condemn for certain public purposes. You can't condemn for expansion of trails.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Alder Tierney, and then Alder Gisselman.
I guess my question would be, is if we don't do this with other parcels, with other landowners, why would we want to do that here? Because really, we're forcing somebody's hand to just give up part of their property for any reason that the city so desires, and that just doesn't sit well with me.
yeah, it does affect the marketability of it, that's for sure. And I don't know, Randy, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but this one in the packet, the number 10 that Attorney Mello noticed was highlighted, that says updated 5/4/24. Is this a second new set of revised deed restrictions that was adopted by the council, or which set are we looking at now that doesn't have number 16 in it?
Yeah, so you'll remember, Ann, about 2 years ago, we worked
Okay.
with your office to refine these, and we worked together on that. And this was the language that we proposed, excuse me, instead of what's in 16 currently. So this is relaxed, obviously, not to the satisfaction of some, but it was something that we had worked together with your office on.
Was this set sent to the seller and buyer in this situation?
Yes, I believe you forwarded them, you forwarded to their attorney, or Lisa did, your assistant.
Okay, but I know we had talked about whether there was a mix-up in communication about which set was sent, and I see that both sets are in here, and the seller's talking about getting rid of 16, which the buyer isn't interested in agreeing to, but we're not asking them to agree to number 16, or which set in here are we asking them to agree to?
So what you have in the packet is 16 is what's contained currently in the deed restrictions on the property.
Oh, that's the set that's recorded against the
Recorded
property
currently now.
Okay.
Yes, and the one that's highlighted as 10 was the proposed updated set.
Understood. So you would recommend then terminating the old set and recording the new revised set?
Correct. That's what the committee approved at their meeting last month. We're talking about potential amended language at this time. So if the committees were to choose, they could strike number 10 from the proposed set. We could take that forward. You know, kind of
Well, apparently neither the buyers or the seller would object to that first sentence in number 10, but I do also have great concerns about that second sentence and not paying someone for an easement for public purposes. If we have no ability to condemn it, I don't think we can take it.
I'll rely on our attorney then.
All right, thank you.
Well,
Alder
so does
Gisselman.
that, is there an amendment, would an amendment be in order then to strike that sentence, the city may? Or is that just gets
Yes, you
reworked
could-
by
you could
the,
make an
or does that
amendment
just
to-
gets reworked by your office?
You could make a motion to accept the new revised set, updated 5/4/24, but strike the second sentence of number 10. And then you'd have to get a second and vote on that.
I make a motion that we accept line item 10 but remove that second sentence.
The whole set, because we're
Oh,
going to
yep,
replace the other
okay.
set that's through number 16 with this set that's got fewer ones.
Okay, I recommend that we accept the set of rules on this deed restrictions. However, we would strike the second sentence of number 10.
That's the 524.
Yes.
Correct.
24 version,
Version.
yes.
So motion to accept the version, City of Wausau standard deed restrictions for Wausau Business Campus, existing properties, with striking the second sentence of number 10. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, Alder Gisselman seconds it. Any questions, other questions or discussion on it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to item number 5, development process flow chart update. Mr. Pfeiffer.
All right, thank you. So going back to our discussion at our August meeting, we talked a little bit about the RFI that was out for the South Riverfront area. We received 2 proposals on that, and I just kind of wanted to walk through. There were some questions and confusion on how that would proceed through the different process that we have at City Hall. So if you look at the chart, you start in the upper left corner, we have an RFI release. So we released that RFI, I believe it was May or June last year. In August, we received submittals back from developers. So we took those submittals through the Economic Development Committee, and then ultimately the decision was made by council. So really, that's where we're at specific to that Vanguard proposal down on River Life South. So where we're currently working with them on is that planning option agreement. So once they complete that step, they move down a step. So planning option agreements being discussed, that'll ultimately come back to the Economic Development Committee. I would expect that at your October meeting. We'll need, once again, council approval. With that in place, that gives them access to the property, allows them to do their due diligence, whether that's geotech, environmental, further site plan refining. So do that, refine their plans, and then that'll go through the zoning and site plan process, specifically mostly with Plan Commission, a little bit with council involved as well. So once they get through step C, then we're on to really the meat and potatoes of the development agreement discussion. So we're going to be working with Ellers in our current process to review their financials. We're going to look at where they're at with profit, what their project's costing, so we can get a better determination on what the appropriate gap funding is. Typically, we use tax increment financing money for that. In addition to that financial component, there's also a lot of different terms within there. That's something we work with Ann's office and the attorneys to work through. Typically, we use outside counsel for a lot of those negotiations. But ultimately, the end result is a draft development agreement that comes forward. Typically, we've held an economic development and joint finance committee, as both of those committees have oversight in that. And once it's approved by those committees, we move on to council. Once the development agreement is complete, we wait for the developer to close on the property and the building process begins. Does anybody have any questions?
Alder Hinkie?
Thanks. I guess what would you assume would be like the most time-consuming step in this whole process?
I would say typically it's that step C, the due diligence process, just because it requires so much from them. They've got to get consultants, whether that's environmental or geotech, lined up to go out on the property, do all the testing, wait for the results to come in, refine that process. From what I've seen, that's the most time-consuming piece in this process.
Okay, that answers another question of mine about the environmental stuff of all this. Any guess on the time frame, like for the whole thing to go through, like average? I just so people are aware.
I mean, average is over a year typically from the time we release it till there's construction going on. There's a lot of things that need to line up. If they need to line up their financing, that can be timely. Just sometimes it's tough to get that geotech in. depending on the time of the year, if you hit it in the winter, last winter wasn't a problem, but different years it can become troublesome, environmental as well. I mean, we've seen it take anywhere from 2 years. I'll use the Gorman West Side, for example. We started with the RFI going out, I want to say it was August of 2022, and we hit that bottom line of closing on the property a couple weeks ago, so August of '24.
Yeah.
So
I was-
2-year process.
I was going to guess
Or a 3-year.
I was going to guess a
almost.
2-year process, but yeah, I could see it getting done in a year if everything lines up perfectly, but
I think
that's
best case
optimistic.
scenario, you're probably, if they had everything, they were ready to go 6 to 9 months maybe, I think that's probably a very, very best case scenario.
okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? None? Okay, then, if there are no other questions, we'll move on then. Thank you for creating that. I think it's,
I should give credit to Andy Lynch, our assistant planner. He was the one that worked with me to create that, so appreciate his help on that.
I think it's very helpful to be able to follow that process. So then, we will move on to agenda item number 6, discussion and action on rescheduling the November meeting. Since it will be Election Day, the suggested date then would be the following, what would that be, Thursday? November 13th.
It's like 8 days later.
Okay. So, any conflicts, comments? Yeah, it's on a Wednesday, November 13th. That would work?
I can make that work.
It would work for me. Alder Gissman, works for you, Alder Tierney. Okay, well then we will go ahead, would that be same time?
Yeah, that's
Same
my next
time.
question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. November.
You want to take a motion to reschedule that meeting, please?
Oh, yeah, action. Okay, so can I have a motion to reschedule the November meeting to November 13th at, it would be 5:30? 5:30? 5:15, 5:30 PM. Motion?
I'll move to reschedule the November 5th meeting for November 13th at 5:30 PM.
Thank you. Alder Henke, second. Alder Killian? Okay, all in favor?
Right.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, that meeting will be rescheduled then. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 7, update on 180 East Wausau Ave project infused, Ash Properties. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So you've got a presentation for us, correct?
Yeah, essentially, we've been asked to come up. So the presentation that we have is I'm Matthew, and this is Kristen Ashburner. We're the owners of 180 East Wausau Avenue, which we purchased back in 2022. And since that time, we have transformed that building into a green space that is going to be open to the constituents of North Central Wisconsin. As part of the purchase of that building, there were deed restrictions that were placed so that we would have occupancy. Ultimately, the occupancy was August 19th of this year, and we were not able to meet the occupancy of that building, predominantly because of the inability to acquire labor in a timely fashion, specifically subcontractors and general contractors. I think that there is actually a lot of other kind of comments, questions, and concerns that kind of go related around to our building, and so I'd like to open it up into discussion. I also want to reinforce that when we purchased this building in 2022, we asked for no city money, and as of now, all of the funds to improve this property have been out of our own personal funds. They've come at no expense to the taxpayer, and we don't anticipate any future expenses to the taxpayer.
Thank you.
There were pictures I think we included on there.
Yeah, so part of all that shows what we've updated. So this has continued the request for proposal. So you can scroll past all that.
All from
This was all from 2022.
Okay.
Go to
going.
page 37 of the PDF.
Thank you.
That's okay. So that was the resolution of an extension granted, the deed restrictions in there.
We're very close to finishing.
Yeah, so for the first time in really this whole project, we've been able to actually book clients because we've remained in constant communication with the city and with staff about our progress. And prior to essentially now, or at least the last few months, we didn't know exactly when it would be completed, but we have confidence that we're going to be complete to the point that we've booked clients for November, and we have multiple clients booked for December. And so what is submitted there is the exact plans of what Infused is, and you can see that it is essentially a transformed empty space into a green space that contains living walls with multiple planters, as well as a wet bar area. There are 2 bathrooms within that area, and then adjacent to that space, which is divided by a firewall, we have built a 30 by 30 prep kitchen, which allows our clients to come in if they want to do their own catering or have events where they would just like to have their own catering. So what makes this unique is that we are an intimate space, and so the need is for intimate spaces in Wausau for events. And then a lot of the events that have smaller spaces require you to use their catering. They do a lot of upselling, and our business model is very basic. We have this gorgeous space. We want you to come use it, and we're going to work with you on how you feel that you can best use the space. So the first couple of pictures there were how the building was. You can see that we've made major transformations. There are built-in planters. There's drywalling. There's essentially 2 new walls that have been built. There is a bar area. That's a hallway going into the second bathroom, and there's an exit door that's right there. And that's the old original bathroom.
That's not original.
Well, that's not, that space was an original bathroom that's partially updated right now.
The original bathroom, the toilet exploded, so it's an improvement.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons I think that people can say, you know, how has it not been finished earlier? But I think that I would rather just that you guys start asking those questions. So that's the kitchen space that's right there.
Do you have the bar area and the plant,
Yeah, so
plant area on
scroll,
these?
there's one picture where you're looking from the glass doors in. So that's one permanent planter. That's it right there. So basically, if you back up to the glass doors and you look what is essentially east, you will see that there is, not in the picture, there's a planter. There's a planter to the left, and there's another planter to the left. In the middle of that will be booths. And then that very back area that looks like it's got a combination of finished wood and then unfinished wood, the bar is going to be built in that area. And the reason that there's unfinished wood there is that we have cabinetry that's going there. And so that's where the bar is going to be. And you can kind of see that with the mock-up of the design of where the bar fits.
And I apologize.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, even since last week when these submitted, our floors have been done. It's coming along quickly. It's just.
Yeah, we got our kitchen equipment today, so actually the kitchen looks like a real kitchen today.
And the glass doors are right here?
If you
Like,
turn
we
around,
look
yep, yep. So basically my back is to the glass doors, and you can
Yeah.
kind of see the lighting coming in. So if you turn around, you see 2 overhead glass doors.
We have a lot
We-
more pictures.
yeah.
available If anyone wanted to see them.
Do you want me to go back up to the drawing?
Do you, okay, we have some questions. So Alder,
Go ahead.
which one? Alder Hinkie?
I'll go,
Okay.
okay. Thanks. How much more time are you guys asking for? Was
So-
it 6 months?
So, well, we have a venue in November.
An event on November 7th.
Yeah, so basically, we think that we are going to have occupancy before November 7th. So that's essentially, you know, where we're at. There's kind of more complexity to that because based upon the deed restriction, it states that you guys have the opportunity to buy this building back, and that's how I read the deed restriction. But that, I think, since this has happened, like, legal is involved, and that's why you're going to go into closed session, because I also have an understanding that there's potentially limitless opportunities moving forward, but we would like some guidance as to what those are, because at this point, we felt the option was you buy the building back or you don't. And then the purchase price for the building is in the deed restrictions, meaning there was specifically what the city was going to pay for the building back. And so that's where we're at. But it sounds like there might be more options. We are going to have an event in there in November, And so we're going to be there, and we fully expect to have the occupancy permit prior to that because we're not going to have an event in a space that's not safe for the public.
So 3 months at the max.
Thank you. Alder Tierney?
Actually, that was the same question I was going to ask.
Perfect.
Other questions? Okay, Alder Killian?
My question is very much the same. I just want to know, do you feel very confident that with that extension, you could accomplish this?
So Joey Ninneman, who is our contractor, is right here. Can he come up and talk to you guys? Because the fact of the matter is that we have the ability from a funding perspective to do this. And so, I mean, you guys are, I feel like people are really set on this date. So we want to be open. Let's just say that it takes a little bit longer. This is not at all an expense to the city. Our delay only hurts us. So if we want to play it super conservative, at this point, I would love to play it conservative in terms of extensions. I mean, the fact is I think the reason that the whole deed restriction was put in is there was some concern that we were buying this building and we may just flip it and then sell it. We have no intent to do that at all. The fact that the money that we put into it is over triple our budget means this business needs to be up and running, and we need to be in there for a very long time before we have any plans of selling this business. And I hope that this is now a good faith effort of that. Occupancy, you can answer that, Joey. Meaning, are we going to have an occupancy permit prior to November 7th? Yes, we will. Okay. So I think I can confidently say, yes, we will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Alder Henke?
I'm assuming closed session was on there just in case we needed it.
I think it would be appropriate to go to closed session and be advised from the attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? Alder Gisselman, did you have any questions? No? Does anyone have questions from the contractor? Four, sorry. No? Okay. Then are we ready to go into closed session? Okay.
Is there anything else you want to say? No. Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So then, would someone be willing to read the language for closed session, for a motion to move into closed session? Okay, Alder Henke, thank you.
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to 19.85 sub 1 sub E of the Wisconsin statutes for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and 19.85 sub 1 sub G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, relating to review and potential action related to City of Wausau deed restrictions for 180 East Wausau Avenue.
Thank you for that. Do I have a second? Okay, Alder Tierney, thank you. One in favor?
Roll call vote.
Oh, roll call vote, that's right. Okay. Alder Killian? Alder Gisselman? Alder Tierney? Alder Henke? And I will also vote aye. Okay, so we will move into closed session.